What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Off the Bench. Of course, I'm your host, DeMarcus, and you guys are in store for a great episode today. Know we've been missing for a little while. Wanted to, take a moment to congratulate my man John on his brand new baby girl. Congratulations to John and his family, his wife, Savannah, on bringing in their second kid into the world. So it's such a beautiful thing to have another member added to the Off the Bench family. So happy about that. But also, like I said, let's get into what we got going on today. So a lot of things been going on in the NBA with signings, free agents. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to also talk about the NBA draft and Bronny James being drafted into the NBA with the Lakers to play alongside his dad. And then finally, we're going to get into the WNBA, talking about women's basketball, Caitlin Clark, where women's basketball is going and where it's at right now and where it's come from. So let's get right into the first segment. So also, too, y'all going to notice here on our screen, you're going to start to see a little bit more, creativity with these segments, titles and videos and all kinds of stuff. So, stay tuned and continue to watch, because like I said, we're doing all kind of different things moving forward with our content. So, but like I said, the first segment we got on the plate is the NBA offseason, man. If you've been paying attention to the NBA, there's been a lot of moves going on, a lot of signings, trades. One of the biggest, signings we saw was Paul George leaving the LA Clippers to go play alongside Embiid and Maxey with the 76ers, signing a $212 million deal. And then, of course, Maxey also extended to a $204 million deal. So let's just kind of talk a little bit about that to get started with this offseason. So I like the move for Paul George going to Philly. I think that was a good move for him. It actually allows him to now play alongside a all-star in Joel Embiid, which he's never played with before, and then also an upcoming all-star and Maxey, who's a great player who showed a lot of upside, coming into the draft. But then, of course, this past season, you got to see him really start to flourish in his role as the, second best player on the Sixers. Now, we also got to talk about the concerns. So, on the front of it, it looks very good for Paul George being an elite scorer and elite defender like he is. But we also got to, talk about the reality of things, his injuries. Him and Embiid always, kind of dealing with injuries in the beginning of the season, middle of the season, then come playoffs, they're not really 100%. So now with Paul George, if he can, play 70-plus games, 80, hopefully a whole season like he did with the Clippers, I think the 76ers have a real good chance to fight Boston Celtics, because I still believe Boston is the favorite in the East, but as well as a favorite in the NBA, because what they did in their offseason last year and, of course, this year, they still, to me, have the best all-around team, because what we saw in the finals was you saw two of the, most elite guards in the NBA in Dallas Mavericks with Luka and Kyrie versus one of the most elite teams in the NBA. So they got a full team effort to win that championship. So that's why with Philadelphia, like I said, they got Paul George, they got Embiid, they got Maxey, but they don't have the full collective team, I think, that can actually, dethrone Boston Celtics. So it's going to be interesting to see what other moves they can make. I know they did re-sign Kelly Oubre, which is big for them, because he's a defender. He can run the floor. He can, guard a lot of different, positions for them. They did lose Tobias Harris. He ended up signing with the Detroit Pistons. Got him a nice deal, a 2-year deal for, I believe, around $50-some million. So he actually is out there, because I was wondering if they was going to be able to keep Tobias and have Paul George, because I think they're going to clash when it comes to what they give the team. But I will say, I feel like Paul George is going to give more than what Tobias Harris has done for the last couple of years, because he's kind of just been just in the shadows of Embiid and Maxey the last few seasons. So it's going to be nice to see another player come over there that could actually help contribute with, with scoring, but at the same time with defending. So as long as they can have, Embiid stay healthy, I know he's going to be playing in the Olympics this summer. I really wish he wouldn't play the Olympics, just because we know with that injury to his knee, you need to take a full off season to rehab that. So that way, when we come back to the NBA season, which is a few months away, he's 100%. Because when Embiid's 100%, he's one of the best big men in the league, outside of Jokic from Denver. So as long as Embiid can be healthy, Maxey can keep elevating like he's doing, and then Paul George come in there and do his thing, and then they can find some pieces because they still need to find some shooting that can be around the three of them, because we know Maxey and Paul George can knock down shots, but they still need other players that can knock down shots, and we need defenders. And then also they need a backup big for Embiid to kind of limit his minutes, so that way as the season progresses, he's actually, staying healthy, not getting worn down so fast, and then also be ready for the playoffs when it really matters. So, but I think, like I say, with the signing of Paul George, that definitely put Philadelphia in the driver's seat to try to compete for a championship, because I know that's what Paul George wanted. But I also want to kind of go to an angle of, the whole leaving of Paul, with Paul George from LA. I think it really looked like to me that he just kind of got tired of the whole, Kawhi Leonard situation, where Kawhi's always hurt, he's not available. And then I think with where the team is going, it just didn't fit Paul George. Plus, he wanted a max contract. And it looks like Philly was the only team out there willing to give him that type of max contract, because with his contract, it's going to put him around 37, 38 once that contract runs out. And he does have a player option within that contract too. So it gives him the ability to, move when he's ready if he don't like the way that, the team's moving or the team's performing in the first few years of this contract. So, but, the LA Clippers now, they're kind of in a spot. I know they did sign Derrick Jones from the Dallas Mavericks, which was a huge loss for the Dallas Mavericks, because that was a great defender, wing guy that, could knock down shots, but also, like I say, just very explosive at the rim. So I think that's going to be missed. Now, with that being said, I know they did lose Derrick Jones, but they did their thing too as well, but we're gonna get into that here in a little bit. So let's finish up with the Paul George signing. So like I said, with Paul George going to Philly, I think that puts them in a good position to be in that top three in the East for sure. Because you still got the Milwaukee Bucks. I think they're still going to contend. I think they come back when Giannis is healthy. Then you get Dame, and then they, all their pieces that they have over there. And then I haven't really seen anything in the offseason them do just yet, but it's still a long time before the season starts. So they might make some moves too as well to help revamp their team and help them compete too in the East. But it looks like they'll be the top three. Then of course you got Miami with Bam. He re-signed too as well to a max deal. So it looks like the East is trying to really, make a stamp, because I know it's always been said that the West has, the better teams, but you're starting to see a lot of players this offseason leave the West and come over to the East. So, but we're going to see what's going to happen with the LA Clippers now that Paul George is gone. I know they re-signed James Harden, and they still have, Westbrook as of right now, which there's been some rumblings of him possibly leaving and getting traded over to Denver. That would be a great matchup, or a great mix, I think, for him to be playing with Joker. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But right now he's still there. So the Clippers, I think they're with their new arena, new logo. I don't know if you've seen it, look it up. They have a new logo now. So they're trying to come out with a whole new look. So we got to see how the team's gonna look. But like I said, losing Paul George was a huge thing for them, because it kind of gives that same feel of what happened with the OKC Thunder when Kevin Durant left. You had a great player that you didn't sign, or you didn't at least trade to try to get some good pieces back for him, whether it's players or draft picks. So allowing him to just walk out the door for the Clippers, I think that's going to hurt them in the long run, because they don't really have any high draft picks, because when he came over from OKC, they gave up a lot of draft picks to get him then. So I don't know what the Clippers are going to do, when it comes to trying to find more players to mix with Kawhi, to mix with James, and possibly keep Westbrook over there. So they got themselves a little bit of an issue going into this next season. So we got to see what they're going to do. So let's also talk about, the Boston Celtics. Now we know they won the championship, so congratulations to the Boston Celtics. Now I don't know if you saw it, but they did re-sign Jason Tatum to a 5-year deal worth $315. So now you got Tatum, $315. You got Brown, over $300 million. They re-signed Derek White. They re-signed or extended Drew Holiday. So their core group is still going to be there for the next several years. So I think they're trying to really build a dynasty with those four. So they're keeping them around. Now, I don't know. Like my dad, he's a huge Boston fan. But I mean, $700+ million on the books. I don't know if how that's going to work out with filling out the rest of your roster, because that doesn't give you a lot of room to play with, or a lot of money to roll out to get other players to play with them, unless they're still on their rookie contracts, or they on some veteran short pay deals. If they get that, then they can still keep. But I still think, and they still got Porzingis too signed up for the next couple of years. But I still think, even though with this mega amount of money that they're putting out in 4 players, I think they still have the best team in the NBA to try to repeat next year. If not repeat, definitely contend for another championship and defend their championship. So, Boston, like I said, they're in a good spot with the way Jaylen Brown's playing, with the way Tatum's playing, Derrick White, Andrew Holiday coming in with his veteran leadership. I think Boston's definitely in a good spot. So let's now move to the Dallas Mavericks. So with the Dallas Mavericks, as you probably have seen, if you haven't seen, they signed Klay Thompson. I know a lot of people have been talking about Klay Thompson, leaving the Warriors the last couple of years, feeling unappreciated, feeling like the Warriors didn't really value him anymore with everything that has gone on in the last few seasons, especially with Draymond Green and just the way the direction of the team has been going. So I was not surprised about Klay Thompson leaving. I was kind of surprised with where he went, because I know there was talks of LeBron trying to recruit him to the Lakers, because the Lakers do need shooting. I know with Dalton Knecht, which, like I said, we'll get into the NBA draft. They actually drafted him, who's a great spot-up shooter. So I think he's going to do great for the LA Lakers. But having Klay Thompson over there, an elite shooter who we know can make 200 threes in the season, having him with LeBron, I thought was going to be a good match for him. But he ended up going with Dallas, and I think it's because if you watch Dallas in the finals, one area they struggled the most was knocking down shots. Because whenever Luka or Kyrie would drive and kick, they just didn't have guys that could knock it down at an elite level. So Boston was able to really kind of, feel the paint, so that way Luka couldn't really get in there, Kyrie really couldn't get in there. Or if they were able to get past one defender, they had to deal with, 2 or 3 other defenders. So I think that's one of the reasons why he went to Dallas, because he saw an opportunity to really help them when it comes to that area they're struggling the most, which is knocking down threes. Now, of course, we know Dallas, they're going to put up a lot of threes with Luka, Kyrie, Tim Hardaway Jr., all those guys that love to get shots up. But having, Klay, as long as he's healthy, having him on the floor is going to do a whole lot more for them than anything they have, trying to shoot as well. So excited to see Klay in a different uniform, still staying in the West, of course, but excited to see how he can help Dallas possibly get back to the NBA Finals, because, like I said, with his elite shooting, that's definitely going to make them a threat in the West again. And as long as Luka can be healthy, Kyrie can come and do his thing, and then the other guys that they're able to bring in, they still got Lively, they still got Gerhardt. So they still got guys that can help, defend, but at the same time, like I said, now they got them an elite shooter, which is going to do wonders for them. Also, let's talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers. They re-signed Mitchell to a 3-year deal extension. One of the biggest deals. They've signed a player in Cleveland, which I think is good for Donovan Mitchell to stay with Cleveland, because with Utah we saw his elite scoring, and then of course we saw his ability to affect the game on a large scale. But I think right now in his young career, I think Cleveland's the best place for him. I don't really see any other place that he can really go that he can have the impact that's necessary to kind of put them over the hump to compete for a championship. And plus in the East, I think the Cleveland, they still are, top 4, top 5, in position. So I think him staying there was a great idea, or a great decision for him. Also, too, we're going to get into one player that this offseason decided to call it quits, decided to retire, and that was Kemba Walker, which Kemba Walker was a great guard in college, went to UConn, won a championship, and then came to the NBA, played with the Hornets, and then played with a couple other teams. But I think he had a great, solid career. You can't knock him for retiring, because I think, like I say, sometimes players just understand when that time has come, it's time to just either step aside and give it up completely, or go into coaching and going to being a TV analyst, doing what I do and what millions do on YouTube is talk about the game and be able to still help the the ones coming up behind them, understand the game a little bit better. So shout out to Kemba Walker on what he did in his career. So I just want to highlight a little bit on him, retiring too as well. Let's see what else we got on the off season that was big for us. Let's see. Oh, you also had Javonte Murray. He got traded from the Atlanta Hawks, moving to the New Orleans Pelicans. I think that move for New Orleans Pelicans was great because it gave another, explosive guard to play alongside of C.J. McCollum. So now you got Murray, you got Cullum in the backcourt, and then of course you still got Zion Williamson. As long as he can come in and be healthy, I think that gives the Pelicans a good, good. I won't say big three, but three stars that can, definitely help them move in the right direction of trying to compete in the West. Because, one thing about the West, it is top heavy, but New Orleans Pelicans showed a lot of upside last year until Zion got hurt, of course. So as long as he can stay healthy, Murray stay healthy, and then with CJ, doing what he does, I think they're going to be able to compete too as well in the West. Now, we also saw in the East, once again, we saw some more movement. We saw Mikal Bridges get traded to the New York Knicks, which now I'm going to start calling the Villanova Knicks, because now you got Villanova Wildcats all over the place with Devin Chino. You got Hart, you got Bronson, and then now you got Bridges over there. So they just, reunited those four guys who was in Villanova, killing it, won a championship there. So they're hoping that they can kind of, bring that same pedigree and energy that they had in college and bring it to New York and possibly, compete in the East too as well. Because New York did a phenomenal job, and then they re-signed OG, to an extension of, $212 million, which I have to say, with that re-signing, being the biggest contract ever given to a Knicks player in Knicks history, I'm a little, sideway about that. You've had Melo, you've had Starberry, you've had Sprewell, you've had a lot of great players, come through the New York Knicks. And don't get me wrong, OG Anunoby, and I apologize if I'm saying his name wrong, but OG, great player. Don't get me wrong, he's a great player. Great defender, can knock down some shots, of course, get to the basket. But to have the biggest contract, ever signed by a player, in New York, don't know so much if that was the move. But I also understand what the Knicks are doing. They're trying to solidify their roster, trying to compete in the East, because like I said in the beginning of this video, Boston is the best team in the East and one of the best teams in the entire NBA. So they're just trying to, find pieces that can match up well with Boston when it comes to Tatum, when it comes to Brown, Derek White, Andrew Holiday, and then, of course, Porzingis. And then they still, hopefully Al Horford will come back for another season. But who knows? To go out on top, that would be the best way to finish your career. And he's had a phenomenal, I think, Hall of Fame career in the NBA. So he might call it quits. But if he comes back, you got that piece as well to deal with. And then you got Pritchard too as well, very scrappy guard. So I think New York Knicks, they're trying to build their team around scrappiness, of course, defending, and then being able to knock down shots. And Mikal Bridges, he showed us in Brooklyn last year that he can definitely, put the ball in the basket, he can knock down shots, and he can defend at the same time. So I'm curious to see, how the New York Knicks are going to do, or like I just said, call them the Villanova Knicks with what they got over there going on. So we'll have to wait and see. But I think right now, so far the moves they've made in the offseason have been great for what they're trying to do. Also, one other move that we saw this offseason so far, you saw the Spurs. They ended up picking up Chris Paul because the Warriors didn't want to give him that guaranteed $30 million left on his contract, so they ended up cutting him. And then, of course, he ended up signing with the Spurs. I think this move was good for Victor to be able to play with a Hall of Fame point guard that can really kind of teach him the game, teach him how to play, pick and roll, pick and pop, and also just take a little bit off his plate of having to do so much with the Spurs, because, it was great to see Victor, finish the season. I think he should have been Defensive Player of the Year and, of course, Rookie of the Year, because what this kid did with the Spurs, with not a lot around him. Of course, we know the Spurs are in a rebuild mode. So, it was good to see them pick up an actual guard that now can help him when it comes to, leadership, when it comes to how to do things. I think Chris Paul's a perfect person for him. And also it gives Chris Paul a chance to go over there and try to help, a franchise in the Spurs that we know to be a championship franchise, to try to bring them back to a place where they're competing. Now, that's not to say Chris Paul going over there, they're going to be fighting for a championship. That's not to say that. We don't want to go that far, but I still think, CP3 going over there to pair up with Victor is going to do well for Victor. And then, of course, as they continue to, draft players, because I've watched, the Detroit Pistons. We've watching the Spurs. We're watching Atlanta Hawks. We're watching a lot of teams in the league right now, Minnesota. Watching a lot of teams, OKC. Watching a lot of teams have these young players, the Houston Rockets, have these young players, and they're starting to, really invest in young players, but at the same time, open their books to be able to eventually sign a star that can pair with these young players and then be able to really start building a franchise that is, championship ready. So I like what the Spurs are doing. I'm a Spurs fan myself. I like what they're doing. Victor was amazing. And then, of course, getting Chris Paul was awesome too as well. So, but yeah, man, it's the offseason. It's so many different things going on. You had Kenny Anderson. He ended up signing with who'd he sign with? When Thompson left the Warriors, Anderson went over to the Warriors. So don't really think that's going to do a lot for the Warriors. I feel like the Warriors in a rebuild mode right now, losing Klay Thompson because the dynasty. For the last few years, we've been kind of feeling like the dynasty is starting to really be over. And but to get to 4 championships and 14 years, man, that's incredible for what, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and all the players that were a part of those championship teams and that championship culture you saw develop there. So it was a great run. So now the Warriors, they're in a rebuild because Steph Curry, he can't play forever. Draymond Green, don't know what they're going to do with him. So we got to wait and see. But I think, the Warriors are going to be in a tough spot because, I said, losing Klay Thompson, having Steph Curry, I haven't really seen them develop anybody to kind of, take over for Steph Curry, because Steph Curry, he's getting into that age bracket, just like LeBron and just like all these other great players that we've watched for so long, especially my childhood. And I'm sure a lot of you, out there childhood, you've watched a lot of these great players in the NBA for so long. Their time is coming to an end. And the Warriors, I haven't seen them really, put anybody in a place that you can start seeing that can really, take over the keys or take over the driver's seat for the Warriors. Like you saw with Simon in Portland, they paired him up with Dame, and Dame was able to help him get to his place. And then, of course, Dame was able to leave, and then Portland was still left with a emerging star in Simon. So I haven't seen that with the Warriors. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do in this offseason as well moving forward, trying to rebuild their culture and rebuild a dynasty if possible, because it's very tough in the West to build a dynasty right now, especially with, so many movements of great players, across the NBA. But man, it's been a very interesting offseason, and I've enjoyed seeing it. And I look forward to seeing, what's going to happen before the season comes back around, because this is the best time of the year. When it comes to the NBA and, what's going on. You got the Summer League coming up here soon. So I'm excited to see these players, all the rookies that were drafted in the NBA draft. And then all these guys that are still trying to make a team, guys that's moved over from other teams. So I'm excited to see what the Summer League is going to look like. So speaking of Summer League, let's get into the next segment, which is going to be talking about the NBA draft. So I know with the NBA draft, there were a lot of I ain't gonna say questionable picks. I feel like the picks that we saw was pretty self-explanatory. This wasn't like a loaded draft like where we've seen. It wasn't a loaded draft like we've seen the last couple of years, but it definitely was a draft that was full of some solid pieces. You definitely saw the NBA make it very clear that these teams are, trying to go young and younger, especially these first two picks. France once again taking over in the NBA. Like I said, you had Victor last year, and then you had two French players in the first two picks this NBA draft. Two solid players. I mean, stretch guys that can definitely, fill it up. Alex Sarr, and then you had, forgive me if I mess his name up, but Zach Lear. Yeah, I think Zakier. I think that's how you say it. Like I said, I apologize if I mess his name up, but you had him, and then you had, Reed Sheppard, which I think Reed Sheppard was one of the, best all-around players in college basketball last year, coming out of Kentucky. He went the first three picks to Houston, which, like I say, as you can see, Houston's, once again, drafting another young player, trying to stay young with what the, core young group they do have. So it definitely something going on in Houston. They're trying to build something. So I like what they're doing. I do like the pick at the 8th spot for my Spurs with Rob Dillingham from Kentucky. I think he's a good guard. But I will say in the first 9 picks, I would say the steal of the draft was Zach Edey to the to the Memphis Grizzlies. I know Zach, being a 7 foot plus tall guy, everybody see him just being tall, play for Purdue in college and kind of dominate those guys in college. And I know that type of, real center is lost in the NBA now. But I think him pairing with Memphis, it's a great pair for him. I think Ja Morant, he comes back healthy. I think Ja Morant can definitely he can turn him into another Steven Adams, for the team. So I like the pick. Like, I think that was a steal for Memphis to get him. And then, of course, you had players like Devin Carter get drafted the 13th pick. You had players like Jared McCain, who was a knockdown shooter in Duke, going to Philadelphia 76ers, the 16th pick, which I think that's a great pick for Philly because, like I say, with them getting Paul George, having Maxey, having Joel Embiid, now they get a kid in Jared McClain that can knock down shots, so that gives them more shooting on the floor. So now guess what? Defenses can't really collapse on Paul George, can't really collapse on Maxey, can't really double down on Embiid in the post or on the wing because you have another shooter on the floor. So I think that was a big pickup for them. And then the 17th pick, I think was also a steal for Dalton Knecht to go to the LA Lakers, being player of the year in the SEC. Now he is one of the older players in the NBA draft this year. I think he's 24, 25 is what his age is. And I want y'all to comment down below. Let me know, do you think, players coming out, being 25, 26 years old, it's better, or is it worse for a player to be that type of age? Or do you think it's better to draft young? Comment down below, let me know. And of course, we'll do a segment talking about that because I'm curious to see what the fans, you out there, think about it. But also, it'd be nice to dive into that type of conversation to really talk about where college sports is going in general, because with the NIL deal, and then now with the COVID year stuff, I think it's starting to go away. So you're not going to see as many older players being in college sports, football, basketball, baseball, and you're going to start to see, college teams get younger again versus how they are now when you got guys coming out and going into these leagues and they're almost 30 years old. So I think that's, a great pick for LA to have him because of his knockdown shooting and also his scoring ability, because pairing up with LeBron, pairing up with AD, you're gonna need, somebody on the floor that can create their own shot. But at the same time, when these guys get doubled, they can kick it out to them for a knockdown shot. So I think Dalton Knecht going to them was a huge pickup. And that pretty much wrapped up the first round of picks that, like I said, they mostly made sense on where these guys win. And if you haven't seen or didn't watch the NBA draft, definitely go to ESPN. You can look at, the first round and second round to see all the picks. So going into the second round, of course, you had Kyle Filipowski from Duke, who was a good stretch big for them. He got picked up 32 by the Utah Jazz, but I think it's a great pickup for him. a great team for him. I think that definitely his style of play will mix well with them. Let's see who else you had in the second round. Oh man, who else was in the second round was a good pick. Oh, that's right, the 55th pick, Bronny James. So I say that to go here. Now I know there's been a lot of talk. You know, my phone's been blowing up. Me and John has been talking about this off camera for the last couple of days leading up to this episode. That's why I was so excited to come on here today to talk to y'all, because with the 55th pick in the second round of the NBA, you know, draft, LeBron James' son, Bronny James, got drafted by the Lakers. And I know there's been a lot of, you know, things on social media. My phone's been blowing up from all my notifications. I've been talking to people off camera. Everywhere I go, hey man, DeMarcus, what do you think about this whole Bronny James pick? Do you think he was worth it? Do you think he should have got picked? Is it nepotism? Let's talk about that word nepotism. So I Googled nepotism because I think sometimes words get said on camera and words get said online and words get said to people and people don't always understand what those words are. So nepotism. It's the practice among those with power or influence of favoring relatives, friends, or associates, especially by giving them jobs. So basically what nepotism is when someone receives something just because they related to that person, they're a friend of that person, or they're an associate of that person and they give them a job. Now, Bronny James, of course, he played 1 year at USC. He had his heart attack and then he had his heart surgery. So like I say, I'm so glad to see that he made a full recovery, from that, because a lot of people don't make it back from that. So it's a blessing to see him able to still be on the basketball court. But let's not get, sidetracked and think or be mistaken that Bronny James isn't a talent. Why wouldn't he be a talent when, arguably one of the best players? Like I said, he's second best to me. I'm a Michael Jordan fan. I still think Michael Jordan's the greatest of all time. And for this generation, LeBron James is that Michael Jordan for a lot of people. How is it hard to believe that somebody that is that great, that's been that great for so long, that his son doesn't have the talent or the ability to play in the NBA? And what better way for him to play alongside his dad, which I know LeBron has been talking for the last few years about playing alongside his son. Now, let's not act like in the world we live in, there aren't favoritisms, there aren't opportunities that are given to people because of, their family is in this company or their family have this business and someone sees, okay, well, because of you and what you've done and how great you've been, we're going to give your son opportunity. Who else deserves that? Let's just be honest. It's not a Bill Belichick situation where he actually hired his son to be on staff. It's not that type of situation. It's a King Griffey Jr. and King Griffey Sr. situation where it's like, hey, my dad was great. I'm a great player in my own right. So we get drafted. I get drafted to the team my dad's on. I get an opportunity to play with my dad. I think every father out there would definitely agree that if you had opportunity to work with us alongside your son, doing what you love, you wouldn't pass it up. So I hope people can understand that nepotism is not what's going on with LeBron James and his son. LeBron James deserves the right to play with his son. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion. Comment down below, let me know if you think something different. And I already know all the comments, all the hate for LeBron. I don't hate LeBron. I'm very critical of him. I'm also critical of a lot of players. But I also can recognize when a man has, been great, still is great, and still killing it. So I'm not going to act like the man didn't deserve the opportunity to have his son drafted. And what better team to go to that can actually help develop him? Because let's not get it wrong. He's not going to just come in and immediately play. He's going to have to do a lot of development. Now, do I think he's going to be on a 15-man roster? Absolutely. And there's already been stories and things out there online that they're working out a contract for him to be guaranteed one of the 15. That ain't hard to believe. I don't see Bronny James playing on a G League team and having to go somewhere else. He's going to be right alongside his dad like he's always been. So people need to understand that Bronny James is a talent. The kid has shown ability. Like I say, USC, no, he didn't average a lot of points, but if you look at the draft in general, I mean, a lot of these guys aren't putting up big numbers. It's about your upside. It's about your potential. And with the way the NBA is going, Bronny James fits the prototype for what's in the NBA right now as for guards. So I think him being with the Lakers is great. Dalton Knecht is going to be another great piece for the Lakers. Now, don't get me wrong, Lakers are not contending for a championship, in my opinion. I still think they're a long way away from that. AD got to stay healthy. LeBron got to stay healthy. And they got to find other pieces around them that can help. I know they re-signed D'Angelo Russell too as well. They still got Reeves. So they still got a lot of, a lot of good pieces around them, but they don't have enough, I think, to move Minnesota out the way, to move OKC out the way, to move Denver out the way. I don't think they have a chance to do that, but we'll have to wait and see. But like I say, I just want people to understand that what's going on with Bronny James. Like I say, the guy's a great player. And if we can start seeing Bronny James have, develop his own greatness, develop his name, because that's what he wants to do. He don't want to be known just because he's LeBron James' son. He wants to be known for who he is and what type of great player he is. So we'll have to wait and see how that works out, especially with them having, J.J. Redick as their new head coach. I know there's been a lot of talk about J.J. Redick. I think, I hope that it's not going to be a Steve Nash situation where he's going to have a lot of talent around him, but they're just not going to be able to put it together, and it's either going to be a failed experiment. But we all know J.J. Redick. I love his podcast. Shout out to J.J. Redick. I think he has a wonderful basketball mind. He understands the X's and O's, and then of course with him having a relationship with LeBron, having a relationship with AD, and also playing, so long like he did in the NBA, so he's going to get the players' respect, I think, right off the bat. And the way he's done, off the floor, I think he has a great opportunity to do something with the Lakers, but we had to see, because in my opinion, Darvin Ham did a great job with the Lakers, given what he had. I mean, be able to go to the conference finals one year, and then, of course, you go to the playoffs the second year. Now, of course, second year you didn't go as far, and in the first year you did get swept in the conference finals. But like I said, you don't have a complete team that's built for Darvin Ham to be able to get to the championship. But I think he did the best with what he had. I don't think it was an issue with him. But we all know, like I say, LeBron James, if he wants somebody in the building, they're going to be in the building. Just let's keep it a book. If he wants somebody there, they're going to be there. And rightfully so, the Lakers are going to respect his wishes, just like they did with Kobe, just like they did with Shaq, just like they did with Magic, just like they do with, just like any NBA team does for any superstar on their team. Because let's not forget, Giannis, is his brother playing in Milwaukee? Do you see his brother, or have you ever seen his brother be some amazing star on another team, or even on their Olympic team that they play for their home country? No. So, like I say, what you're seeing, you see opportunities given to players all the time because of people they're associated with or people they know. But like I say, it's nothing wrong with it. That's just the world we live in. So people need to stop, overreacting, stop acting like this is the worst thing for sports, to have Bronny James on the Lakers, to have Giannis' brother playing in Milwaukee. I mean, you look at Drew Holiday and all his brothers that's in the league. They've played together, played against each other. So the league is full of it. So if you want to say that nepotism is running rapid with this situation with the Lakers drafting Bronny, then you got to understand nepotism lives throughout the NBA, the NFL. Any business that you know of, there's nepotism all over the place. But true nepotism is when someone is given a job just because you're my son, you're my brother, you're my sister, or I know you and I want you to be able to come in here and have a step ahead the next person. What's going on in Dallas with the Joneses, that's nepotism. What they do, giving your son a job, giving this person a job, giving this person a job that has no experience in these fields, but because you're my son, because you're related to me, you get this upper hand in working in my company. I know my boy Tim, he gonna kill me because he's a Dallas Cowboy fan, but what Jerry Jones is doing over there, that's true nepotism. So enough of my rant about that. But I just wanted to talk about that because I know a lot of people have really been, giving Bronny a hard time. But if you really watch the kid, you watch him work out online, you watch him play, the kid got talent, man. Athletic, fast, can shoot the ball. I believe he can shoot the ball better than what LeBron did, early in his career. Because LeBron really couldn't shoot the ball early in his career. It was later in his career. But with Bronny, you see those glimpses. You see that potential very, very early with him versus his dad, where it was all about the athleticism that he distributes. So, but enough about that. I just wanted to get into that and let everybody know how I feel about, this whole thing going on with that. But overall, good NBA draft. I think a lot of great talent was picked in the NBA draft. And I'm excited to see what they do on the next level. So NBA is in a good place, and I look forward to the season like always. And we just had to, go with that. But let's move into our last segment before we get out of here. So in our last segment, let's talk about the WNBA and what a great place it's in right now, and women's sports in general. I think women's sports have been, unappreciated for a long period of time, and undervalued for a long period of time. So it's great to see now arenas selling out, 20,000 plus fans. You see all the television, you see all the commercial, you see all the love for certain players. Now I know there's been a lot of heat, going around talking about how Caitlin Clark is, kind of being targeted in the WA, which I like I say, I've played sports my whole life. And that whole idea that she's being targeted by certain players, that's a fallacy. Now, granted, when you come into a league, I don't care what league it is, when you come into a league and you have the name that you have in Caitlin Clark, you have the fans that want to see you. They don't care about if she wins or not. They just want to see her put up a lot of threes from the half court line, volleyball line, wherever, put up a lot of threes, a lot of buckets. They want to see the assists. They want to see her attitude. They want to see her get into it with players. They want to see players get into it with her. They want to see just, gritty basketball. That's why Caitlin Clark is so important for the WNBA. To think about it like this, you remember when Magic Johnson and Larry Bird were the two biggest names in the NBA, and then when Michael Jordan came and they had to, the NBA said, hey, look, we got to take the torch and now give it to Michael, and the NBA didn't really like that. A lot of players didn't really like that. Michael got, a lot of hard fouls. I mean, you look at any great player that come into a league that is going to be the new face or the new reason why everybody's tuning in. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of, some animosity. There's going to be a little bit of, okay, let me show you that, this is not your league yet. You got to go out and prove that you deserve the attention. You deserve the accolades. You deserve all the hype that's getting, that's put around your name. And that's what Caitlin Clark's going through. She's a player that went, was in college, was dominating in college, killing every year, scoring all these points, was the name that everybody wanted to come see, was the reason why everybody comes to games. So now coming to the WNBA, can't be surprised that everybody still want to see it. Everybody want to see when she wins. Everybody want to see when she loses. Everybody want to see who she's talking to. Everybody's trying to, pan something together, a story-wise, with Angel Reese, trying to develop a rivalry with them two. So it's just great for the NBA, for the WNBA especially. So what you're seeing with Caitlin Clark is no surprise to me, just because anytime a great player comes into a league that comes with all this name behind them, then of course players are going to test them. And you got a lot of players in the league that are like, man, we've been here, we've been doing it before Caitlin. So we're going to show her that, hey, this is a different level. We're going to show her that ain't nobody scared of you. We're going to show her that we too deserve respect, and we too deserve, all the talk and all the hype too as well. But all that's going to do is make Caitlin better at the end of the day. And just like any great player, LeBron, Kobe, Michael, Iverson, all the guys and girls that, Taurasi, Candace Parker, Cheryl Swoops, all the great women players that's come before her is the reason why Caitlin Clark has the opportunity now to be on the stage that she's on. Because those women paved the way. They set the foundation. They held down the WNBA when the WNBA couldn't get no funding, couldn't get nobody to come to the games, couldn't get nobody to, really appreciate what they're doing. All their hard work, all their blood, sweat, and tears of what they're doing right now, or what they did back then, is what's going on right now. Because all these women they're killing it. I mean, from, Kelsey Plum, if you watch her play, she plays with a lot of heart. She is, to me, a Caitlin Clark, can shoot the ball, lights out, definitely tough, definitely is going to, not back down from anybody. Same thing Caitlin Clark's doing. I watched the game where they played, and I saw them kind of, back and forth, trash talking. Love it. Like I said, we applaud the men all the time when we see that happen in the NBA, but when it happens in the WNBA, we want to say, "Oh man, that's too much. That need to get away from the game." Nah, man, when you're talking about competing, it's gonna be some days that you're gonna be nose to nose with people. It's gonna be some days where you're gonna go in there, you're gonna have to battle to earn a win. And then of course, it's just gonna make the game more entertaining, gonna make the game more fun to go to, and it's gonna draw more people, more attention. When it comes to the ratings of viewership and when it comes to ticket sales. And at the end of the day, when you're talking about a business, that's what's important. How many tickets are being sold? So what's going on with Caitlin Clark in the WNBA, man, I think is wonderful for the sport. And I think people need to really calm down, because what she's being given has been done to many players before her. It's no different. Like I tell people, it's a revolving door. What she's experiencing, other great players have experienced, years and years and years ahead of her. That's why Caitlin Clark even exists, because of those women paving the way for her having the opportunity to be on the stage that she's on. So WNBA, man, I think it's in a great spot, and I'm loving what I'm seeing. I've always watched a lot of the games, but now you actually can see so many more games on TV, which is great for them. I love seeing all the women get opportunities off the court, because we know, these contracts aren't the greatest contracts that these players receive, but these endorsements, these off the floor opportunities, they're getting more and more and more now, from State Farm to Nike, Adidas, New Balances, to all these companies starting to really get behind these women basketball players. And I love it. And I applaud y'all women for continuing to fight, continuing to keep your league alive, and also give, inspiration to the next group of young ladies that's coming up behind you. So continue doing what y'all doing, man, because y'all are doing a fantastic job, and you're putting a great product on the floor as well. But man, I think that's gonna wrap this episode up. I want to thank y'all. This has been a pretty long one. I typically don't do a lot of long episodes, but I think this was needed for these conversations to be brought up. As always, please comment down below. Let me know what you thought about these 3 segments, and we'll definitely talk about it more and more and more on, upcoming episodes. But as always, before y'all leave today, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you'll know about all episodes and all things going on our channel here. And then, of course, you can always follow us on all of our other social media, which is always listed down below. But as always, I want to thank y'all for watching and continuing to support Off the Bench. And until the next episode, we'll see y'all soon. Peace.